Okay, so picking up into part one, the first 27 lines of our poem, we are introduced to um, the dream and dreamer. So our dreamer is our first speaker, and he's recounting to us in the first 27 lines this memory, this dream, and the memory of having this dream. So here in we have that focus on memory, the past, right? Remember, in The Wanderer and in The Wife's Lament, there was that kind of focus on the past. And the past is important because it influences his present and his future. So um, who is our dreamer? Who is this speaker? And some critics say that he's a monk. Some people say that he's someone preoccupied with his own weakness, his own sin. He's this world-weary kind of man. But I don't really think it matters who he is prior to this dream vision. We can assume, and this is what I think is important about our speaker, we can assume that he is a representation of a man. Every man, one who sins, one who suffers with human frailty, as we all do. And I think it is so vague about who he is prior to this dream is because he is someone that we as readers can identify with. He's so nondescript, he could be anyone and everyone. And in a lot of ways, I think he sets himself up as someone we're supposed to emulate. And that is evident in his address in the first 3 lines. He says, attend to what I tell you. So in other words, he's saying, listen to me. Hear what I'm saying. I had a marvelous dream that moved me at night when human voices are veiled in sleep. And there are 2 things that I want to point out in that line, I had a marvelous dream that moved me when human voices are veiled in sleep. And the first one that I want to mention is this phrase of, or the word human. When human voices are veiled, they aren't seen. So the voice that comes to him is not man, it is not human, it is perhaps divine. And the other word in that phrase is that this voice, this dream, this vision moved him. And the implication here in that word is that it changes him. And so all of a sudden he is setting us up to hear about this dream that changed him. And he's gonna, and essentially the oh gosh, that's spelled wrong. That's spelled wrong. I can't spell, y'all know this. He's saying, I had this dream, it changed me, and it's gonna change you too. Because I'm about to tell you about it, and be prepared because you're gonna be changed by what I'm gonna tell you. So again, we have this kind of emphasis on this idea of transformation. Then we move into the bulk of his first kind of speech. He's saying, listen to me. This is going to change your life. And he describes the cross. He sees coming out of air, surrounded by angels, this kind of otherworldly sign that's covered in gems. It's gleaming. And that's when he first sees it. And he, during his description of his first view of the cross, he compares himself to this vision. He's identifying with it. And he says, I'm on line 14, I beheld glory's trunk, garnished with grandeur, gleaming in bliss. The tree was triumphant, and I, tarnished by sin, begrimed with evil. So essentially he's saying, gosh, look at this beautiful thing that I'm seeing, and I am not worthy because it's covered in beauty, and I am filthy in sin. So he's humbled by this vision. It reminds him of his human nature and his human frailty. And so after we get this kind of humbling vision of beauty, we get a closer look at the cross. And up close, at a second glance, he sees that it is covered in blood with signs of ancient strife. Essentially, it's bleeding. And he sets this up here again because bleeding is a humanizing effect. If we are bleeding, we are hurt. And we, of course, begin to identify, he's beginning to identify with the cross because he is personifying it. And his first thought, upon seeing this kind of gruesome view of the cross, is that he is frightened. And I'm going to come back to that idea in just a second, but I want to talk really quickly about why dream vision. Why tell us this in kind of the framework of it being a dream? Well, in some ways it adds a level of mystery to the vision, this kind of otherworldly, out-of-body experience, which really parallels to the Bible and religion. Because what's the point of faith or religion? It describes, beliefs of a religion are things that people know but can't explain. And just to kind of go off on kind of a tangent, but it's not really a tangent because it all ties together. Think about Catholicism and the mysteries of faith. The mysteries of faith are things that are hidden in God, never known unless they are revealed by God. Like when if you're Catholic and you say a rosary, it there are various different mysteries. There are the joyful mysteries, the sorrowful mysteries, the luminous mysteries, the glorious mysteries. But what he is saying to us through this vision, through this element of mystery, is that something is being revealed to me by God. The dream is a revelation. So, another reason why it is a dream vision, and I think why we see this kind of double vision in a cross that is both regal and bleeding, is because it is meant to frighten him. Because basically, or not basically, biblically, the sign of last judgment appears at midnight. It's Matthew 24:42, and he thinks that this is a sign that the world is coming to an end. We are in the final days of judgment. And Old English poetry and homilies at the time, when all of these kind of texts were coming together, Old English poetry and homilies say that at the end of days, the vision of the cross, when the day of last judgment happens, the cross would appear glorious and beautiful to the saved and blood-soaked to the damned. And so we have in this dreamer someone who sees both. And because it's both, well, am I damned or am I saved? There is that level of uncertainty. And I really want to focus back on when we talked about the wanderer and the wife's lament, that the one thing that they were always faced with was this level of uncertainty and the discomfort and fear that comes with the unknown. I mean, we think about it in our own lives when we are uncertain of something, when something is unknown, we have this incredible anxiety. So we can see in the poet this anxiety about his future, and not just earthly future, but the future beyond this life. So um we can see that in this poem as well. So I am going to stop here with our uncertain dreamer, and I'm going to pick up with the bulkiest part of the poem, and certainly the one that I'm going to spend the most time with discussing in part two, the dream, or not the dream, but the words of the Rood, the voice of the cross. So stay tuned.